Hello everyone, this is Grace here from Mosman Library Service, and today I will be demonstrating how to make your very own cardboard loom at home, and also a very basic weave like this one here. To begin, you will need cardboard. You just need a simple piece like this, doesn't have to be fancy, in either a square or a rectangular shape, and it can be whatever size you like. You'll need scissors and a pencil and yarn. So the wool that you use can be any different color, any type of colors that you like. I've chosen some very simple colors here, very neutral, but you can choose bright colors if you like. But you'll need at least 2 or 3 different colors. So the first step is to mark out some lines on the cardboard. You want them to be about 1 centimeter apart. You can use a ruler if you want to be exact, but the key is to have them lining up at the top as they do at the bottom. And then you want to cut, make small incisions about here in line. So not too deep, not too shallow. You want them to be just thick enough to wrap your weave around, sorry, your warp. Okay, so the second step is you want to warp your loom. So you take whichever colored yarn you would like to be the warp. Okay, take 2. So you want to take your warping thread or yarn, and you want to flip over the cardboard, and mine looks quite rough here, but that's okay, it's only the back of the loom. And you want to take the first notch, thread some yarn through, wool through, and just tie a double knot here and flip it back over. Take the thread all the way down to the first notch, and then just go behind like that. So you'll end up with all of the straight lines on this side and just little notches like that on the back. You actually have your loom, your cardboard loom. It's warped and ready to go. And I'm going to show you a basic weave called the Tabby Weave or the Tabby stitch. And the first thing that I like to do is actually take the pencil and just place it behind your warp. Just push it right to the top there like that. And the reason you want to do that is just because it will give you a bit of space to work with, so it will make weaving a lot easier. So the next step is to take your yarn in the color that you'd like to go in first and just measure it out. It doesn't have to be exact, but I like to just go like this a few times. I only want about 3 or 4 white lines to begin with, so that will be enough yarn for me. So just cut it off there. So you want to take your first thread and tie it around the first warp thread at the bottom here. I also like to leave a little bit of space, so you can measure that out exactly if you want to, but it's no big deal because you can just kind of adjust the weave as you go, as you'll see later. But just give yourself a little bit of space from the bottom and tie a gentle double knot onto the first warp thread, like so. Okay. And then to begin with the Tabby weave, it's very simple. You just go over and under and over and under and then back again. So we're starting here as over. Pick up the thread, you want to go under, over, under, over, under, so on. and then just pull it through. Like so. If that's in the right position, then you don't need to push anything down or adjust it, but you can if you want to. And then you just take the thread and we go back to the other side. So we're going the opposite way this time. If it was over before, make sure it's under this time. So under, then over. So now you know how to do a simple tabby weave, and you can actually just continue on in your weave with the tabby pattern in different colors if you like, or you can do all the same color, that's up to you. Also keep in mind you don't actually have to use wool or yarn, you can use whatever you like. You can cut up paper, or even if you've found a plastic bag. I've seen a nice weave where someone cut up a plastic bag and recycled it and made a beautiful weave out of it. You could also use plants, leaves, grass that you find in the garden or on a long walk. So keep that in mind. It doesn't have to be wool. And with the tabby stitch, it's very simple. It's very easy to make anything look really beautiful. But before we carry on with the tabby pattern, I'm going to show you how to do a very simple tassel. So just adding tassels on the end. It's actually called raya knots. So I'm going to show you how to do that with my black yarn. So the first thing you want to think about with your tassels is the length that you would like, and also how many you need to make. So the number will depend on how many warp threads you've got. So I have 15. You might need more or less depending on the size of your loom. So just count the warp threads. And then you want to take the yarn in whichever color you would like your tassels and estimate about how long you would like them to be. You can always trim them later to make them even, but initially you want to measure roughly how long you'd like them to be. I'd like mine to be about that length. So you take that length and you double it to make a loop like this. Okay, so that's fine, and I will trim that. And then I can now use this piece to measure all of the others. So I'm going to cut 15 of those. So now that you've cut all of your tassel threads, you want to take 2 of them, so 2 pieces of yarn, fold them over in your hand like that to make a loop so that it's even. Line it up with the first 2 warp threads like that, and all you have to do is take, we call this the loop, and we call each of these the feet. So line up the feet with the first 2 warp threads, and then you want to take 1 pair of feet and you weave it around the outside and thread it through in the middle like that. And then you do the same on the other side so that it looks like that. And then you just pull it through. Pull it down so it looks like that, and then you've made a raya knot. It's very simple. That's your first tassel. Okay, so now that you've done your tassels, we can begin again with the tabby weave. So continuing on with that same stitch as before with the white, but in a different color, or you can go back to the white if you like, that's up to you. I'm using cream, which is the same color as my warp. rest of the weave, I'm just going to continue on alternating my yarn colours and continuing with this Tabby Weave. There are many different styles of weaves that you can do. I've just taught you a very simple one today, but you can look them up. We have lots of books in the library, lots of good resources on Loom and Loom patterns, and you can also find lots of styles online to follow. And the way that your wall hanging looks, you will want to remove it from the loom. So how to do that is you want to get the tassels out of the way, so just place them there, and then you want to cut these warp threads carefully. I do the first two first and tie a double knot, and then do the rest of them in pairs and tie them up. And tied all of those in a double knot, you can trim them. Just be really careful not to undo the knots. So once the bottom part is finished, you just want to remove the top part of the weave, of the warp from your loom. And to do that, you can just pull it off from the back. Until you have loops. Just for the purpose of demonstration, I'm going to use the pencil, but I'd recommend that you go for a nice long walk and find yourself a nice decorative stick and pop that through these loops, and then you've got yourself a nice wall hanging that you made on your very own cardboard loom. Thank you so much for following along.